Hi, friends. How are you today? My name is Bailey Sarian, and today is Monday, which means it's Murder, Mystery, and Makeup Monday. If you're new here, hi, my name is Bailey Sarian, and on Mondays, I like to sit down and talk about a true crime story that's been heavy on my noggin, and I do my makeup at the same time. If you're interested in true crime and you like makeup, I would say subscribe because I'm here for you on Mondays. Plus, I got a little Halloween thing going on right now, huh? Before we get into today's episode, we do have a sponsor. It's MIDAS Merge. Have you played? It's so fun. It's kind of become part of like my daily routine. Whether I'm like taking a quick break from work or like trying to unwind after, researching, filming, whatever, I love to play MIDAS Merge. It's fun, it's relaxing, and it just kind of like hits that perfect little cozy vibe that I love. But what always keeps pulling me back in is Nyx. Listen, she's like this goddess of night, okay, love. And she is like dark, stylish, sassy, and she's, I guess, always hiding something, Same. And every time like you make a merge, it's like she reveals a little more of her secret. And then she takes it right back. It'll make sense when you play. She's mysterious, powerful, and I just kind of want to be her. And now, just in time for spooky season, MIDAS Merge has dropped something brand new. It's the Haunted Gardens. I was like, ooh, I'm in. From October 23rd to November 3rd, you can explore this like limited time Halloween themed area with eerie tombstones, creepy cute creatures, deadly little plants, and even trapped souls that you can set free. It's like the Addams Family meets a magical forest, and I'm here for it. Plus, the game is free. Oh yeah, it's ad-free and it works offline, which means, you can play literally anywhere. On the plane, in line at the DMV, on the toilet, let's be real. And this part's cool. For you guys, my community, the first 200 people who download using my link or QR code will unlock an exclusive spellbound fox from the Haunted Gardens. Listen, it's rare, okay? And it's spooky cute, and it's got my name on it. Love that. So listen, this is only available this season, so grab it while you can. If you love dark mysteries, adorable monsters, and games that feel, cozy fall vibes and like fun, full of secrets, you're gonna love MIDAS Merge. I want to say a big thank you to MIDAS Merge for partnering with me on today's episode, but most of all, to you, my viewers. Because without you, I wouldn't be here right now. And I appreciate you. So listen, today's episode, Halloweeny, okay? But a little while ago, I did a Q&A video, and I was answering some of your guys' burning questions and like reacting to some of your wild and shocking theories about certain cases we've talked about throughout the years here on Murder, Mystery, Makeup. And I asked you guys in that video, I was like, should we do an update video? Like a where are they now? And I read the comments. I know you think I don't, but I do. And I was reading the comments, and a lot of people were like, yeah, do it, Bailey, please do it. So today we are diving into some of our previous Murder, Mystery, Makeup episodes, and I'm going to give you some updates. Oh, yeah. If you're ever curious to know what I'm using, I'll list it down in the description box. Since it is kind of Halloween-y, today I'm going to go for... Do you watch Dark History? Well, you should, because we did an episode on the Coffin Girls. So today I want to do a Coffin Girls inspired look. The rundown, the Coffin Girls were essentially like trafficked into America, and they were like very sickly when they arrived because they were on a ship for months. So when they arrived to America, they were all pale and they had a disease that was making their gums bleed. So everyone was like, oh my God, these are like literal vampires. These poor women. So then they got like shoved away in a convent forever. And then one day they like just vanished, disappeared. So everyone was like vampires. Plus they carried little suitcases that looked like coffins, and that's how they got their name. So I'm going to do like a vampire-y coffin girl kind of look. Check out that episode. It's actually really interesting. Kind of sad though. Aren't they all? Plus, I've got really bad cramps, so I feel like vampire cramp, like it goes hand in hand, right? I feel like a vampire right now. Okay, Bailey, stop talking. So let's get into these updates, shall we? Okay, so today we're going to get into like the latest and greatest. I mean, not necessarily the greatest. Chad Daybell, like what happened there? that deserves its own update episode because so much happened, and I was trying to like make it work in today's episode, but it was like there's just so much. So I'm gonna do its own episode, like an update to it. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments and I'll do it. I'll bring my whiteboard back. Remember? And like, don't worry, I know it's been a minute since like you've heard these cases, so I'll give you a little refresher before we get into the update. But of course, I'll link the videos down below in the description box if you want to like go rewatch the original episode, because I can't get into like everything. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. So Bailey, stop talking, put your phone away. Okay. And get into it. Jeez Louise. So let's jump into it. First, Rocky Myers. Remember Rocky Myers? Now, the Rocky Myers case is very frustrating and sad, and just sad, because it was very clear to me and to everyone, honestly, that the justice system was failing Rocky at every turn. And I think a lot of us believe he did not commit this crime. He got convicted of murder, and let me just tell you, okay. In Alabama in 1991, a woman named Ludie Mae was attacked in her home after letting in a man who said like he needed to use her phone after he had gotten into like a car accident. So she was kind and like let him in. Now this man came in, stabbed her 4 times, then stabbed her cousin who was at the home as well, and then left the house taking her VCR. Now, both ladies at the house were able to give the police a description of the attacker, and they said he was like a short, stocky black man wearing a light-colored shirt. Sadly, Ludie Mae, she ended up passing away later that night at the hospital. During the police investigation, a neighborhood like drug dealer, his name was Butch, he turned in Ludie Mae's VCR and said that he got it from a man named Roadrunner. So police go to Roadrunner, and Roadrunner said that he got the VCR from a man named Cool Breeze. So the police, they ended up arresting Cool Breeze, but they ended up releasing him pretty quickly. Then a man named Marzell, he ended up talking to police saying that he saw a man named Rocky Myers with the VCR near Ludie Mae's house. Now, when police looked into Rocky Myers' background, they noticed like he was already on probation for theft. So they ended up arresting him for violating his parole. So the police ended up interrogating Rocky Myers, but it was unrecorded, which is not allowed. Okay. But Rocky told police that he found the VCR in like an alley, and he ended up taking it and using it to buy drugs. But he denied like attacking Ludie Mae or going to her house that night or being involved whatsoever. None of that mattered though to the police. They ended up charging Rocky with Ludie Mae's murder. Then 2 years later, the trial revealed several major inconsistencies with like the officers' stories. Many witnesses said that Rocky was wearing dark clothes that night. This man named Cool Breeze was wearing a light colored shirt that had blood on it, and it was like, that's probably the guy. Plus, Rocky had like really bad eczema and dry, flaky skin, but officers didn't find any DNA, skin flakes, hair, fingerprints, anything linking Rocky to the scene of the crime. Like nothing. Now, one of like the biggest like what the F moments was that Ludie Mae and her cousin knew Rocky personally because he lived across the street from them. So if Rocky had attacked them, they would have been able to name him. Like they would have recognized him, and they were sure like it was not him. Ludie Mae's cousin testified to this, and the story that the police were telling, blaming it on Rocky, like nothing lined up with the actual facts. Like for legal reasons, I have to say, in my personal opinion, but like low-key, like he did not do it. Well, listen, after the trial was said and done, Rocky Myers was convicted of murder and was recommended life in prison. It made no sense. Now, the jury had 12 people in it, and 11 of them were white. One juror only referred to Rocky he was using racial slurs. So beyond racial bias, there were jurors who believed that if someone was even on trial at all, they were like automatically guilty. This is what they were saying. So the jury was far from impartial. Then on June 2nd, 1994, the judge ended up overruling their jury's recommendation. And this is like a move that's rarely used, and ended up sentencing Rocky to the death penalty instead of life in prison. And it was like, what is going on? It was awful. Now, we talked about it in the episode because at this time, this judge was campaigning for re-election, and his whole platform and his thing was that he was tough on crime. And in my personal opinion, this whole trial was like, it was a political chess move. I never do my brows first, so I feel so out of place. So Rocky's lawyers, they filed for an appeal and they lost, but I guess they never told Rocky about it. And then they just completely like abandoned his case, and they didn't tell him about that either. And by the time Rocky found out about all this, like, it was too late to file a habeas corpus petition, like presenting an opportunity for him to present new information to the court in hopes of overturning his sentence. Now, there was an inmate who actually helped connect Rocky to like a new legal team with the Equal Justice Initiative, and they filed multiple petitions because like a key witness had since recanted their story. Marzell, the guy who like told everyone it was Rocky, said that he was arrested for stealing a car, and the police gave him the option of saying he saw Rocky near Ludi May's house, or he could go to jail. So of course, Marzell took the deal and went free. So Rocky's team is trying, but the state still, they were denying the petitions because in their eyes, it was Rocky's responsibility to file the habeas corpus and all that like on time, and not his lawyers. Like, they were giving him just a hard time and just no hope. So at that point, it was like Rocky's only hope was being granted clemency by the governor of Alabama. So on that episode, we ended with me telling you guys about the ACLU petition that was out at the time to get the governor's attention about Rocky's case. And I also gave a little lecture about how you need to register to vote so you can participate in jury duty, because you need to, because it will keep our justice system fair and balanced. You know, like for Rocky's case, like it was all white people like who were racist and shit. It's just like, what the fuck? So I stand by that. So please register to vote, and vote in general. And also, if you get jury duty, you should go. I wish every time I get like a little thing for jury duty, I get so excited. I'm like, yay. And then when they find out what I do, they're like, nope, can't have her. I'm like, come on. But I want to, so just pick me. I want to be on a jury. So what's the update? Because there has been an update with Rocky Myers' case. So he was on death row for about 30 years, and Rocky was set to be executed in this year, spring of 2025. Which I will say, this is a side note, in the Rocky Myers original episode, I told you guys about the petition, and so many people showed up and signed the petition. And Rocky Myers' attorney at the time reached out and just said thank you. And I just want you to know that they were very appreciative of all of us just trying to help. So then, on February 28th, 2025, Alabama, the governor, Kay Ivey, revisited Rocky's case and ended up changing his sentence to life without parole. So taking him off death row. The governor said like there was too many unanswered questions about the case and couldn't in good conscience allow Rocky to be executed when the case was like not solid. Now the governor said that she still believes in capital punishment for like the most serious crimes when the proof is solid. She also said, the governor, she said that she's not convinced that Rocky is innocent, even though if you look at the documents and everything, like, okay. Even though she kind of highlighted all of the same issues that we talked about. We saw like no murder weapon, no DNA, no, not being identified by the victims. But she said that she's not fully convinced that he is guilty. She's flip-flopping. You know, like a fish out of water when they go back and forth. She's doing that. She's like, he's guilty, but like, I'm not fully convinced that he's guilty. She said it was actually one of the hardest decisions of her career and that she had to respect the decision of the jury by sticking to their recommendation of life without parole. So as of now, Rocky Myers is 63 years old and is still serving time at St. Clair Correctional Facility, and he will now be known, I guess is the right word, as the second person in Alabama to be taken off of death row since capital punishment was reinstated in Alabama in 1976. He's the second person since 1976 to be taken off of death row. Like, that's major. It's hard because if you watch the episode and you remember it, you know he was completely innocent and he shouldn't even be in prison in the first place. And we've talked about on Dark History how the justice system works and how it's just all fucked up. And I wish we could say like, oh, he's out, like, but no. I hate saying like, at least he's not on death row anymore. It's hard to say that because it's like, it's still unfair that he even got convicted of this in the first place and he has no chance of parole, period, So yeah, it's just like trying to find that silver lining. But it's like, at the end of the day, like our system is failing us, especially Alabama, you fuckheads. Sorry, but seriously, if you want to understand the jail system, I did a Dark History episode about that, where we deep into like, it has nothing to do with crimes. It's always about numbers, and it's just sad. Even though it's not like the change we were hoping for, the outcome we were hoping for, the fact that we were able to show up and try says a lot. It's special. Is it? I think so. So now moving on from a somewhat happy endings story, I guess, to one that actually like really grinds my gears from start to finish. Miss Casey Anthony. Oh yes, Miss Casey Anthony. Oh, you remember that episode? Did you watch that? You remember that one? F her, right? Jeez. Okay. Well, where do we start? Okay. This is a side note, but like this whole update episode idea came from when I was reading fan theories about Casey Anthony. So naturally, of course, I had to tell you about Miss Casey Anthony because, yeah, I'm jumping ahead here, but she was on TikTok and you best believe I was in the comments trolling her. Absolutely, I was. I said, what are you doing here, bitch? Girl, what are you doing? Anyways, so listen, watch the Casey Anthony episode. But here's the rundown. Sorry, I'm laughing because I was in her comments. Okay, so back in 2008, 2-year-old Kaylee Anthony went missing, and her mother, Casey, was acting a little weird, okay? She was acting a little off. Like it wasn't a big deal that her daughter, who is 2, was missing. And then once police and the media got involved, her odd behavior became like the center of attention across America. Oh, we were involved. Now, the last time anyone other than Casey had seen her daughter was a month before she was reported missing. During that time, Casey would tell her parents and her boyfriend that her daughter Kaylee was with the nanny. You remember, Zanny the nanny. But the police learned like pretty quickly that this nanny never existed, and Casey gave them like a real person's name, but when they went to go fact check, like she wasn't the nanny. She was like, what the hell are you talking about? Casey's car was also like kind of abandoned in a parking lot area, and it was impounded. And when her parents got her car back, I guess it was said that the car smelled horrible, like something had died in there. Okay. So I guess her mom cleaned out the car. She opened up like the trunk of the car and like threw away a big bag that was in there, that she believed the smell was coming from this bag. So she takes this bag and she throws it away. She never looked inside to see what it was. Would you look? I would look. You know, some things happen. Eventually, like police, they searched Casey's car, and in the trunk, they found traces of human remains, like a strand of Kaylee's hair and a stain that was kind of like shaped like it could, like a small body. And 5 months after Kaylee's disappearance, her remains were finally found on the side of the road about a mile away from Casey's parents' house, her home, technically. And like how she was found, it was awful, so sad. So the police charged Casey with first-degree murder, child neglect, obstruction of justice, and making false statements. Now, again, if you remember, do you remember watching the trial? I do. Casey hired Jose Baez as her attorney. His strategy in the courtroom was to like cause chaos and confusion. He was really distracting the jury with like wild theories and forcing the prosecution to focus on like clearing up these wild theories he's throwing out there instead of proving that Casey killed her daughter. Now, the part that I thought was just the saddest, I still think it's the saddest, Casey's team kept pointing the finger at Casey's dad, George, the entire time. They were suggesting that George found Kaylee drowned in the pool and got rid of her the same way that he used to like get rid of the family pets, whatever, like wrapping them in something, I'm assuming. Then during the trial, Casey took the stand and she was saying that her father taught her how to be a liar because he allegedly molested her as a child and made her keep it a secret. This was new news to George, the dad. A lot of theories were tossed around, including the use of chloroform. It was suggested that like Casey, maybe she accidentally killed Kaylee by either neglecting her or trying to knock her out with chloroform so she could like go out and party. Even that alone, it's like lock her up for a long time, right? And then maybe they were suggesting like, you know, she maybe just like she accidentally killed her daughter and then she freaked out and, you know, she like tried to cover it up. Could you imagine? I know a lot of you are parents out there knocking your kid out with chloroform. Who in their right mind would do that? I mean, at the end of the day, even if she like accidentally knocked her daughter out with chloroform and it ended up killing her, it still would make Casey a murderer, you know, even if it was an accident, you know, like that. You can't do that. Anywho, if you were watching the trial during that time, it was pretty wild. It was pretty shocking. And somehow, for some reason, for reasons I still do not understand, Casey Anthony was found not guilty on first-degree murder, but she was found guilty of lesser charges like neglect and obstruction. So she ended up getting sentenced to 1 year in county jail, but because she had been in jail for 3 years waiting for the trial, she got time served and therefore like she was released about 2 weeks later. Still blows my mind that she got away with freaking murder of her own kid. So after Casey was released, she filed for bankruptcy, and it was rumored that she paid for her lawyer, Jose Baez, with sexual favors because she had no money. I think there was like a rumor like they kind of like were dating for a while, you know, but these were just rumors, and the attorney denied it. The woman, Casey said, was the nanny who kidnapped Kaylee, ended up suing her for defamation. But that lawsuit, for some reason, was dismissed. So we ended that episode talking about how, Casey was moving forward. She had taken up photography, so she was doing photography, and that she wanted to become a private investigator. And there was speculation that Casey was planning to write a book to clear her name. It worked so well for OJ with his book, If I Did It. She was like, maybe I should do that too. So she was going to have one of her own version of that. Well, since the episode has come out, I've been wondering, did the book come out? Because I would read that book. I guess it was reported in 2020 that she had only written 3 chapters, and she was fully planning to release a memoir that had a little bit of comedy and relationship advice, and would also clear up any rumors about her involvement in her daughter's death. Relationship advice, girl? Okay. Uh-huh. It's unclear, where the book stands as of right now. Haven't heard anything about it since. But several people who were, interested in the case, and even some who were involved, have released their own books talking about anything and everything, including her attorney and even the prosecutor. Then in 2022, which is crazy to think because I feel like it was last week this came out. But in 2022, she did a mini documentary series. It was called Where the Truth Lies. Now everyone was tagging me in this on Instagram. Are you going to watch? I was like, no, I am not giving her my view. Not my one view. Absolutely not. I will download the book illegally if she ever writes one, but I will not watch it. But I guess she want to come out and talk about her truth. So this interview was really the first time she had sat down to tell her side of the story. And most people were prepared to take everything she said with a grain of salt. I don't know. There was a lot of people DMing me saying Bailey, I think she might be innocent. And I was like, I was judging. You're allowed to have your opinion though. Anyways, but so in this little docu-series, Casey doubled down on her sexual abuse allegations, saying that her dad and her brother abused her as a child. Now the brother part was all new information. Then she went on to say that she believed that her dad may have been abusing Kaylee like he did with her. And that's why he actually refused to tell her what he did with Kaylee on that last day that she was seen alive. She also said that her dad told her to lie to the police. Girl. Look, it gets tricky with abuse allegations because 2 things can be correct. Maybe that did happen. I don't know, but I still think she murdered her kid is what I'm getting at, I don't know. During the whole trial and all that, her dad seemed genuinely shocked that she was saying this. And remember, if you watch the episode, he tried to end his life because it was just what the fuck? And no one had his back. Oh, I felt so bad for him. I don't, So she's now making these new allegations. Okay, girl. I wish she would just own it. I drugged my child because I wanted to party. I lied and lied and lied because I wanted to party. I was a shitty mom and oops, I accidentally killed my kid. Fucking own it. But she won't. She's just this weird compulsive liar. Sorry, personal opinion. Casey shared that for the last decade, she's been working with the private investigative team that was on her defense team, and she was working with them as a research assistant. Just a random thought. There's got to be some kind of psychology behind that. Maybe the psychologists in the comment section will let us know. Maybe she kind of got involved with private investigative work because she got away with it. It's maybe in a way if she can catch other bad people, it will make her feel better that other bad people are getting caught. Do you know what I'm getting at? There's something there. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but I think some of you might. There's some kind of psychology behind that, girl. For a while though, I remember she was just doing photography, and it was could you imagine getting your wedding photos done and it's who's the photographer? Casey Anthony. I think this psychopath, narcissist, liar, in my opinion, I think she thought by doing this series, it would absolve her of her sins to the public. But honestly, it kind of backfired. No one wants you around, girl. Sorry. Just go live on an island somewhere. There was a juror from her trial who publicly shared their thoughts about the docuseries, saying that it just really reinforced how much of a liar Casey is. In the documentary, Casey said that there was no way for Kaylee to get into the pool on her own because it was above ground and it didn't have a ladder. So, Kaylee wouldn't be able to get into the pool. So Casey didn't believe that Kaylee drowned. Now, the juror who saw this docuseries was like, bro, the entire defense was that Kaylee drowned in the pool, but now she's saying that she didn't drown in the pool. So the entire defense was a lie. I mean, either that or she's lying now. And it was like, who can just tell for sure? She just lies so much. What's the truth? Now, I was shocked to find out that Casey, Anthony, her parents, Cindy and George, they're still together. Yeah. Because Cindy, the mom, she was ride or die for Casey. I believe she knew the truth, and poor George got thrown under the bus, and I thought for sure George was going to get the fuck out of there, but they're still together. I hope they're okay. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe George, I don't know. Anyways, they're still together, and it's said that they really haven't spoken to Casey since the trial ended. They've done a handful of interviews here and there, the mom and dad. They even did a lie detector test for an A&E documentary in the hopes of setting the record straight about their involvement. And they ended up passing all the questions. George has said that he still loves his daughter and would be open to more communication with her, but he 100% believes that she killed Kaylee. While Cindy, the mom, said that she's still unsure of what happened. But at the end of the day, she really just kind of hated how Casey put them through hell over everything, how she handled everything. I mean, everyone knows Casey Anthony. Could you imagine trying to be the parents, trying to move forward and everyone's judging? Because we're judging, So Casey said she mentioned throughout the year she tried dating, but it never went well for her. When do you bring up that you may have killed your child? Is that date number 2 or 3? Oh yeah, by the way, so funny story. Did they do a psychological evaluation on her? She's obviously got something. Just don't know what it is. Now, I guess, listen, at one point, Miss Casey here, she was in a relationship, but the person was married and she was having an affair. It's girl, what are you doing? She's still up to shenanigans. But friends said she grew, I guess, bored of it really quickly. Most of her relationships wouldn't last that long because she would just get bored. Allegedly. She may or may not be in a relationship with an ex-cop right now. But good for her, I guess. Now, most of you know, this year, 2025, Miss Casey joined TikTok. We all saw it. I guess she started a Substack too, to reintroduce herself. But this time as a legal advocate.
I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher. And in this capacity, I feel that it's necessary, if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter. My goal is to continue to help give a voice to people, to give people tools and resources that they can utilize so they actually know where they can turn to. So with that, please join me on Substack.
Listen, she said one of the main reasons that she was doing this was to help give a voice to the people in need, the ones who couldn't speak up for themselves, be an advocate for them. She said, Quote, I feel that it's important that I use this platform that was thrust upon me and now look at it as a blessing as opposed to the curse that it's been since 2008, end quote. Now you best believe my ass was in the comment section. Oh, when I saw that TikTok, I was like, listen here. Listen, you're not needed here. I may have participated in a little bit of trolling. I apologize. Okay. So she was getting dragged. People were making TikToks responding to hers. One person said, quote, taking legal advice from you would be like asking Hannibal Lecter how to make vegan meals, end quote. She quickly turned the comments off. Yeah, very disappointing for us. On Substack, you know, she does have people supporting her who believe that she's innocent. It's so hard for me to leave. It's so hard for that to leave my mouth. But they're out there. But, you know, majority of people don't like her. They're hostile, you know. And I guess she would respond to those people in like kind of a calm tone with slight threats. Like, I hope you used your real email address when you signed up for your account. When this gets reported to law enforcement, they will be able to access your IP address either way, even if you disable your account. So she's like low-key trying to, you know, threaten people or just make them scared. Like, oh, you want to leave me a mean comment? Well, I'll get your IP address and, you know, law enforcement's going to show up. I've maybe done that before where it's like I've gotten some really like psychotic, mean, disturbing comments. So I went full psycho and like found their IP, their address, their name, where they worked, where they lived. And I was like, should I just drive up, knock on the door and be like, hi, are you Blowboy629289 on YouTube leaving the comment that, yeah, I've thought of that. So, you know, she was like kind of low-key threatening people with legal action and making it sound like advice, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know what her goal is. She wants to, again, girl, just like live your life. Don't be online. Go. Be free. Just go away. So I guess, you know, Miss Casey Anthony, she's still like on TikTok and her Substack. She also mentioned that she's like a certified like nutrition person. I'm very confused by her. I still can't believe it. She really got away with that. She really did. I mean, legally, whether we like it or not, Casey Anthony has been like cleared of any guilt. And if we remove how we feel about it and what we believe, is it fair for her to be constantly reminded of what happened? Let's just say, you know, like, you know, yeah, she was found not guilty. Is it fair that she has to live the rest of her life known as Casey Anthony? Yeah. Shame. Sorry. At the end of the day, I feel like there's just been no justice for Kaylee, her daughter. That's the saddest part, you know? And at the same time, we have Casey over here who's kind of like taunting us. Just go away. You know her attorney guy, Jose Baez? Now he maybe sounds familiar to you because he's actually been mentioned here before. He has quite the client list. He represented Aaron Hernandez, Harvey Weinstein, and Tory Lanez, just to name a few. So, you know, interesting. Seems like he's the go-to guy if you did a horrible crime. We've been through quite a few, and up next is the case that has also gotten a ton of public attention lately. And I did this video not too long ago. The Menendez Brothers. Now, if you've been living under a rock, let me give you the little rundown of the Menendez Brothers. It was a huge story, and by now you've probably heard something about it. Plenty of things have happened since we did the episode, so yes, let's get into it. So, you know, back in August of 1989, Kitty and Jose Menendez were both murdered, shot to death in their Beverly Hills mansion. Their sons, Eric and Lyle, called the police saying that they had gotten home, found the bodies of their their parents, and were trying to like say it was the mob. When in reality, they were the ones who killed their parents. But at the time, police were investigating. They really didn't have too many leads. They were suspecting the brothers, but like they didn't have any like hardcore core like evidence or anything. But then like a year later in October, Eric seemed to like be getting overwhelmed with guilt and ended up confessing to his therapist that he and Lyle killed their parents. Yeah. And then over the next few months, the brothers continued to go to this therapist. And, the therapist was recording their sessions. But then in March of 1990, the therapist that the guys were seeing, was having an affair. So the mistress went to the police and was like, hey, the brothers had confessed, and like there are tapes from the therapist of like the confession, all that. Like she told them everything. Again, so much happened. Watch the episode. But like after all that, Eric and Lyle were arrested and charged for the murder of their parents. Now, of course, naturally, the media made them out to be like spoiled rich kids that just wanted their parents' inheritance, and that they murdered them because they're selfish kids. But then later on in court, it would come out that the brothers were sexually, physically, and mentally abused by their father, Jose, and their mother. Plus, she allowed the abuse to happen. It was a lot. Now, their first trial was broadcast on court TV, and even though the brothers were in the same courtroom, they had their own lawyers and their own juries. Eric and Lyle, both of them took the stand, and they shared just awful, gruesome details about the abuse they endured all of their lives at the hands of their father and sometimes their mother, and how afraid of Jose they were, even as young adults. They expressed in court that they truly believed Jose was going to kill them in order to keep the abuse a secret, and that he had threatened them like multiple times not to say anything or he would kill them. So to them, like, this was an act of self-defense. The prosecution argued that this was just an abuse excuse, and most likely it wasn't true. They were, trying to tell everyone that Eric and Lyle killed their parents just out of greed. Point blank, period. And by the end of that first trial, the juries were deadlocked and a second trial was ordered. The second trial was not televised, and the judge did not allow any of the abuse evidence to be used or mentioned in court because he said it was not relevant to the case, which just like blew people's minds, but also kind of ripped apart their whole defense. So their entire defense was not allowed in court. So this gave the prosecution the power to fully control the narrative, paint them as just evil liars and cold-blooded killers. So sadly, the jury found Eric and Lyle guilty of first-degree murder on July 2nd, 1996, and they were both given 2 consecutive life sentences without parole. Now, we mentioned in the episode, kind of like since then, Eric and Lyle have really throughout the years, according to them, like have tried to work on bettering themselves while in prison. Lyle has been getting degrees and serving on the inmate government, while Eric became a minister and runs a support group for inmates who have suffered from sexual and child abuse. But over the years, new evidence, started to surface. There was a letter that was found by a family member from Eric, and it was written to his cousin back in 1988. And in the letter, Eric was talking about how scared he was about his dad, and detailed some of the abuse that he was experiencing. Then in 2023, Roy Rossello, who was a member of the boy band Menudo, came forward sharing the abuse that he received from Jose Menendez, who was kind of working their band manager. And when Roy was just like a teenager, he was abused by Jose, and he wrote out this whole statement, everything, shared everything, and it was awful. And this just further added credibility to like the abuse claims. This was no abuse excuse. Like, this was real. Now, the new evidence sparked public interest again and gave the brothers' legal team a new strategy, filing a habeas corpus petition requesting like a new trial should happen based on these new findings. Separately, a Superior Court judge resentenced Eric and Lyle to 50 years to life, which this meant that like it gave them a shot at parole. So when we ended the episode, waiting for the parole hearings, because they were like actually like approaching quickly right after I filmed that. Honestly, I thought like for sure they were gonna get out of prison. No. Since then, like a lot of movement has happened, but not necessarily in the direction that the brothers were hoping for. So Eric and Lyle's parole hearings were handled separately, but they did share like a lot of the same witnesses. On August 21st, 2025, Eric had his hearing, and he was denied parole. The parole board said that his past criminal record, meaning his burglaries before the murders, his prison rule violations throughout the years, like having a cell phone, and other things, plus his lack of empathy and reason shown when murdering his mother, were all the reasons as to why they felt he was not ready to be released. The next day, it was Lyle's turn to face the parole board. A couple of hours after the hearing started, the Department of Corrections mistakenly, quote unquote, handed over audio recordings from Eric's hearing to the press, which you shouldn't do that, okay? And it spread like wildfire. Clips of Eric talking about what they did, why they did it, and if he regretted it, like had spread all over the news and social media. This leak was a clear violation of the parole board's standard practices, and it just doesn't seem like an easy mistake to make. It kind of feels like it was done on purpose, okay? Let's be real. Lyle's attorneys accused the Department of Corrections of releasing the recordings on purpose to cause a spectacle. And it did. Several family members who testified for Eric and were supposed to testify for Lyle ended up backing out because they were afraid that they were going to be dragged into this media circus once again. Lyle's attorneys tried to get the hearing rescheduled because of the situation, but the deputy commissioner of the parole board decided to move forward anyway. In the end, Lyle was also denied parole for prison rule violations, like having a cell phone. I guess he was showing antisocial personality traits. He had been deceptive and was minimizing his actions. And he had a lack of quote unquote full insight of his criminal actions by lying to avoid consequences. That was their reasoning as to why they denied his parole. The deputy commissioner told Lyle that, the board, they found him to be genuine and remorseful, but there were certain things he needed to work on, and to not lose hope, because in a couple of years when they're up again for parole, he could still get out as long as he follows all the rules and doesn't get into trouble. So a little motivational speech there. So that's the parole, but there's also been movement on the habeas petition. So the Superior Court judge who was reviewing those new pieces of evidence, like the letter and Roy Rossello's interview, this judge believed that this did warrant a re-examination of, the case. But the LA District Attorney disagreed and said that none of the new evidence was relevant and that it lacked credibility. The DA said that it lacked credibility because it was never mentioned in court by Eric or the cousin, and that all of like Roy's interview, all it did was confirm that Jose was an abuser, but it didn't change the fact that the boys were not in imminent danger when they killed their parents. Then on September 15, 2025, about 6 weeks after reviewing the petition and the DA's response, the judge denied the brothers' habeas petition. He said the new evidence somewhat supports the brothers' claims of sexual abuse, but that didn't change the fact that, they planned the murders beforehand. So, now what? Well, as of right now, Eric and Lyle will be able to try for parole again in about 3 years. There is a chance that if the brothers follow the rules that you have in prison and have good behavior, their next hearing date could be moved up to a year from now. And the only other option for Eric and Lyle would be if the California governor pardoned them. And I just don't know if that's on the agenda as of right now, But if he did that, he would basically wipe their slate clean, or he could reduce their sentence again. But again, I don't think that's high priority with what's all going on right now. I think a lot about the Menendez Brothers episode, especially because so much was left out, and I did see a lot of people online well, why didn't you mention this? Why didn't you mention that? And it was well, if I did, it would have been a fucking week-long episode. But overall, I just feel with the Menendez Brothers, that story is just so fucked up. The abuse, if you watch the court trial and if you watch them testify, the brothers on the stand, it's hard not to believe that their dad and their mom were very fucked up. And I think just with Gypsy Rose, you can't murder someone and just get away with it, but at the same time maybe that was their only way out, you know what I'm saying? So, or I don't know, I felt really bad for them. It's just sad. I think eventually they'll get out, but we'll see. I guess we'll see. Well, you guys, we covered a lot today. I hope you enjoyed hearing these updates. There were honestly so many cases to choose from, but please let me know in the comment section if there was one specifically you were hoping to hear about. We can do this again, maybe revisit. Let me know down below if you want me to do the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell update, because I will get my board ready, baby. Okay. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I probably look I forget that I look like this. Let me know who you or what you want me to talk about next time. But other than that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. You make good choices. Be safe out there. And I'll be talking to you guys later. Goodbye.